an impudent, younger female boss. That was all she was to me. Caught in a sudden downpour, I got a glimpse of her true face. "Do you want to see more?" She provocatively whispers this, looking up at me, and I find myself holding my breath. "Do you want to come to my place?" Upon blurting out these words, her reaction was, "My name is Michael Collins, and I turned 28 this year. Bear with me as I share a little about my background and the path I've walked. I was born as a winner. If I name the company I've worked, everyone would exclaim, 'Oh, that one,' in admiration. I was born as the son of the president of the company. Even though I was the second son, my parents loved me without any favoritism. It was already decided by the time I graduated from elementary school that my older brother would take over my father's business. So, I had to find my own path. Both my parents were passionate about education. I didn't hate studying, and fortunately, I was better than most of my classmates. I realized I was naturally smart, perhaps like my father, around the time I was in high school. A gift I was born with. I never took it for granted. I didn't slack off in my efforts to meet my parents' expectations. There was a part of me that felt that I was slightly better. My brother was a kind person, but I considered him an ordinary man. His only exceptional quality was his kindness. My mother said, "That's an important thing," but I was dissatisfied with my brother. My brother, who had all the expectations of our parents and grandparents on his shoulders and was destined to take over the company, even though he was less capable than me. Back then, I must have been an insufferable, arrogant man. Looking back now, it was embarrassing. I reflect on it as the folly of youth. I earnestly wished that someday my parents would recognize my excellence and change their successor. But such a moment never came, and I graduated from university. Because I had such evil intentions, I wasn't very enthusiastic about job hunting. Still, I received job offers from more than 10 companies, including my first choice. While harboring dissatisfaction with the unresolved issue of inheritance, I was about to take my first step as a working adult. And then, I experienced my first setback in life. The company I joined as my first choice was a famous advertising firm. Once I joined, there were plenty of rich kids like me. The existence of me, who had always been in the spotlight, was quickly buried. I was disconcerted by the unfamiliar situation of not being the center of attention. I became increasingly anxious about not being able to control the situation as I had imagined. My inherently arrogant nature got in the way, and I didn't listen to my colleagues' advice, resulting in a disastrous mistake. It took less than 6 months for me to commit a terrible mistake. I can do everything on my own. It was a mistake caused by my arrogant belief. I stared blankly at my colleagues running around to cover for me and my boss apologizing to clients. I was broken from that point. The next day, I submitted my resignation. I never went to work again. I didn't want to interact with people anymore, nor did I want to meet anyone who knew about me. My worried parents arranged for a separate apartment for me, away from our family home. In a way, I was ousted and left my house, taking refuge in a provided apartment. Half a year passed, and I finally started going outside, but I wasn't in the mood for job hunting. I was unemployed. Every day, I focused on living lazily. I decided to live in a way that completely denied my former self. I continued such a lifestyle for a few years. I think I was able to return to society because of a series of small lucky events. The only entertainment for me during an Emilite period was movies. There was an art house cinema near my apartment. They showed slightly obscure films and old foreign movies in this small movie theater. At the end of the year, they also had all-night screenings, and it was a good art house cinema deeply rooted in the local community. One day, as I was buying a ticket as usual, there was a recruitment poster for staff at the reception. "Are you hiring staff?" As I received my ticket and asked, I was told they were urgently recruiting due to a sudden vacancy. At that time, I had no idea what kind of work an art house cinema does. They said it's a fun job if you like movies, and my interest was immediately piqued. I decided to apply for this job. The next day, I brought my resume. Immediately, I had an interview with the cinema manager, and I was hired on the spot. Everything went so smoothly, I remember feeling a bit scared. I was worried about what to do if it turned out to be an incredibly harsh company when I returned to my apartment. I was to start work from the day after the interview. I was quite anxious about what kind of job it would be on the first day. It seems that my work was publicity and sales. Publicity work included creating posters and flyers, creating displays within the theater, and exhibits. Outside sales involved purchasing and advertising the films to be screened. The staff was small and everyone was handling multiple tasks. "Hi, I'm Michael Collins. Nice to meet you." The person I bowed my head and greeted, my boss, was a girl who looked like a doll. I suppose I should call her a woman. But she really looked like a little girl. I was surprised again when I heard her age. She is 5 years younger than me. The cinema manager secretly told me that she dropped out of high school and was a part-timer. She seemed to have started working here after working multiple part-time jobs and being asked if she would like to work here. Her efforts after that were said to be tremendous. They also said she originally had good taste, and all the movies she purchased were hits. Now she's a famous super buyer in the industry. She and the cinema manager were in charge of my training. This is how I got a younger boss. A week passed in no time, with a younger girl as my boss. I was made aware of her abilities in this week. The skills I had developed during my student days were of no use. I was racking my brain every day over my incompetence. The cinema manager said, "Take your time to learn," but I had my pride as a man and as someone older. My enthusiasm ended up spinning its wheels and inviting failure. Every time that happened, she called me this. Junker. Junker became my nickname in no time. It wasn't sarcasm. I knew she was calling me that with affection. But for me, who had been going straight on the path to success, being called a Junker was also a humiliation. I'll take a revenge someday. This feeling would invite my next mistake. My boss, Claire, is as beautiful as a doll. She's short with a white complexion, giving her an overall delicate impression. But her inner character is robust. I've understood that painfully well over this past week. Generally, the people in this workplace are all quite quirky. The conversations here are often teetering on the edge of sarcasm. At first, I genuinely thought I had picked the wrong job. But after observing everyone for a while, I realized how naive my thoughts had been. What sounds like insulting banter isn't actually meant as such. And everyone is sincerely committed to their work. As a result, there might be arguments, but they're just temporary. Nobody engages in discussions that outright deny the other's opinions. Even as a newbie, they listen to my opinions and, although with a tinge of sarcasm, give me advice. The pace at which employees grow in a workplace where there's no need to pretend to know everything seemed different. "Michael, have you finished ordering the flyers?" As soon as she returned from the client meeting, Claire threw instructions my way. "It's all good. the submission is done. Not bad for a Junker, Claire said and placed a gift, a cafe latte from a convenience store, on my desk. I guess she remembered that this is the only thing I drink when we are on outside calls. From the other desks, voices of complaint rose. Why don't we get anything? Don't be a baby, go and buy it yourself. Even though everyone else is older, Claire is relentless. She's equally tough with the theater manager, making her practically the most powerful person here. I somehow feel a bit spoiled, but the theater manager laughs it off, saying that's just how it is with newbies. I can't always be babied by those younger than me. I pledged to myself, sipping the cafe latte. Sales is part of my job too. One day, I had an outside sales job. Claire was accompanying me. I had gone out with the cinema manager a few times, but this was my first time with Claire, and I was a bit nervous. To get me accustomed to going alone in the future, we visited a few ticket booths and bookstores. It had been sunny since morning, and the weather was nice, but after visiting about 5 places, the sky started to darken. It might rain. Do you have an umbrella? I don't usually carry an umbrella. Claire looked up at the overcast sky with a hint of anxiety. I realized I had never seen her carry an umbrella. I was about to ask why she didn't when suddenly, heavy rain began to pour. A sudden downpour. There's nothing we could do about this sudden heavy rain. Caught in the middle of a crosswalk, we started running. We managed to duck under a store awning and escape from the rain. Though we were soaked in the rain for just a few seconds, we were thoroughly wet from head to toe. I heard Claire click her tongue in annoyance. With a look of irritation, she took out a handkerchief to wipe her wet hair. Her makeup seemed to have smidged a bit from the rain. This sucks, she cursed, kicking my leg in frustration. I'm not the one who made it rain, you know. What? I looked down at Claire, and I felt a sense of discomfort. There was something different about her face. Her makeup was smeared, I think, but there was still something off. Observing closely, I realized what was causing this discomfort. Claire, did you have beauty marks under your eye? She must normally conceal them with foundation or concealer. 3 beauty marks lined up under her left eye. It felt like I had just discovered a secret about Miller, and it gave me a little thrill. Want to see more? She whispered, looking up at me, and my heart skipped a beat. It was pretty sexy. I was smitten by these suddenly revealed beauty marks. I've always had a thing for beauty marks. I'm well aware of it. Unconsciously, I moved a little closer to Claire and looked down at her. Do you want to come to my place? It's not far from here. Upon hearing my words, Claire's face turned bright red. I also started to feel a bit embarrassed. I tried to smooth things over, but before I could say anything, I got a swift kick in the shin. Ouch! Hey, what was that for? Shut up, you're such a Junker, stop talking nonsense. Claire spat out these harsh words, leaving me crouched there in pain as she ran off. The rain hadn't stopped. She'll be soaked by the time she gets home. I hope she doesn't catch a cold. I started to worry. When I returned to the cinema, Claire had apparently gone straight home and wasn't back at the office. The next morning, Claire's attitude was unmistakably cold. She was deliberately avoiding me. She wouldn't look at me, and her greetings were half-hearted. Even when I tried to discuss work, she handed tasks off to other seniors. She was systematically excluding me from her territory. Other staff members started questioning me. Hey, what did you do to her? It made things uncomfortable. During lunch break, I finally caught up with Claire, but she still wouldn't look at me. In a corner of the hallway, out of sight from other staff members, I confronted Claire. Why are you avoiding me? I'm not avoiding you. You're just imagining things, Junker. She glared up at me, and I couldn't help but recall what had happened the day before. As I gently rubbed the area under Claire's left eye with my thumb, the 3 hidden beauty marks reappeared. She glared back at me, not resisting my touch. Suddenly, my memory started to rewind. I had seen these beauty marks before. This was back when I was still a college student. Back then, I was arrogant and unlikable. I thought I was superior and couldn't imagine making a mistake. Both my classes and my social club felt like playtime, and I spent my time there aimlessly. There was a tavern that our club always used. An Italian-style tavern, a little fancy, perfect for wooing girls. That day, we had a mixer, 3 friends and 4 girls. I think most of the girls were interested in me. My buddy noticed it and began to get irked. I think if he's going to get irked, he might as well work on himself, but he doesn't seem to have that kind of ambition. Even worse, he started making passes at the young waitress who brought us our food. The girl, who looked about high school age, was blushing and clearly uncomfortable. Her hair was dyed silver and cut into a pixie style, adorned with several piercings. I thought maybe she was a bit rebellious. Because of her appearance, I assumed she could easily avoid the flirt. But I soon realized that appearances can be deceiving. She was genuinely distressed. Unable to rebuke the customer too harshly, she seemed to lack the experience to handle the situation smoothly. Seeing this, I, who had been trying to charm the doll-like beauty sitting next to me, signaled her with my eyes to hold on for a moment. "Hey, enough is enough. Can't you see she's upset?" I reached out, grabbing my friend by the collar as he leaned towards the waitress. While he was flailing, I managed to tell the waitress, "Go ahead, get out of here." "Dude, you've crossed a line." I patted my friend on the shoulder, laughing and diffusing the situation. From inside the counter, I could see the waitress bowing repeatedly to me. There were 3 little moles under her eyes. That's right, now I remember. Wait, the waitress, from that Italian bar. At my outcry, Claire gave a sharp click of her tongue. I had frequented that bar many times until I graduated. I must have seen that face countless times. "Aren't you going to marry that doll-like girl?" Claire asked out of the blue. She must be talking about my girlfriend from college. A girl who looks just like Claire now. As I thought about it, I suddenly realized. I can't believe it, it might be my misunderstanding, but Claire, is that outfit a cosplay? Immediately after, I felt a sharp pain in my chin and groaned. Claire's headbutt had landed right on my chin. I crouched on the spot due to the pain, and Claire stood over me, looking triumphant. "Choose your words carefully, Junker," she declared arrogantly, looking down at me and clicking her tongue. As she walked away, I thought I heard a quiet thanks for back then. "Cinema manager, I have something to ask you." I burst into the cinema manager's office and shouted that. The cinema manager laughed and said, "Oh, you've found out, huh?" According to him, he hired me because Claire wanted him to. Apparently, she asked him to hire me because I was her first love who helped her out, and now I was unemployed and struggling. Apparently, they even timed the job postings for when I was buying a ticket. I have been played by all the staff of this art house cinema. Claire had remembered the girl I was with at the time and tried to dress like her, she explained. It wasn't exactly cosplay, but it wasn't far off. The cinema manager laughed as he told me that Claire had sworn them all to secrecy about her change of appearance and everything else. Everything had been orchestrated by Claire. How roundabout. And yet I thought how endearing she was. The next day, Claire was back to the girl I remembered. It seems her black hair was a wig. Sporting a very short haircut with numerous piercings, slim black pants, and a white t-shirt. If she appeared like this for our reunion, I would have recognized her immediately as Claire. Claire, completely back to her old self, acted as if nothing had happened. During lunch break, I gently ask her as she stuffs a pastry into her mouth at her desk. "So I heard I was your first love. Have you always liked me?" Claire gave me a stern look and clicks her tongue. Then she turned her face away and said, "I hate you now." Caught off guard by her less than sweet response, I find myself saying, "What?" in surprise. Then, Claire, with a mischievous smile, turns her face towards me. "You're a real Junker, you know." Her lobes were slightly red. "Well, I guess I'd better graduate from being a Junker then. Please reconsider once I do." As I pet Claire's head, the headbutt comes flying into my side. Groaning and hunched over in pain, I stay crouched. "You're so cheeky for a Junker." Leaving those words behind, Claire walked out of the office. But I suppose I can wait. I didn't miss the words she added in a small voice. The day she would stand next to me wearing a wedding dress seemed a long way off. So, what did you think? Subscribing the channel and it gives me the motivation to create more content. See you in the next video.